Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to draw an authentic vintage looking sword swallower like you'd see on an old poster. This sword swallower was inspired by Heather Holliday, who's a current sword swallower who has great vintage style. The way I'm going to make this look like an authentic vintage poster is by using Retro Supply's Phantom paper textures. These textures tile together seamlessly to fit any size of canvas. Today I'll be using them on Procreate, so I'll be showing you how to do that. Once you've purchased Phantom paper from Retro Supply, you're going to follow the link that they emailed to you over to the download page. Once on the download page, simply scroll down and look for whichever paper texture suits your needs. Today I'll be using Tobacco Craft. I just click on the Tobacco Craft paper and download that one singular texture. Once that paper texture is downloaded, just click on it up in your downloads area. It will automatically import into Procreate. I want my canvas size a bit bigger, so I go into the settings and I change it in inches. I've decided that I want to make this canvas size 12 by 12. I still want to stick with a square because that works best for posting to Instagram, and it's also pretty great when you're screen printing or any other sort of printmaking. Once I've changed my canvas size, I'm going to duplicate the paper texture and effect folder. Just slide that over to the left, click duplicate. I'm going to do that 3 times so I have enough of the paper texture to work with so that it tiles into all of the sections of my canvas. Next, I'll be selecting one of the duplicated folders. Before I move it, I make sure that snapping is on so I can see that all of the corners are lining up exactly as I want them to. Go through and move all of your paper texture folders so that they meet all of the edges in your canvas. If you want to, you can combine all of these duplicated folders so that it is just back down to 3 layers like it started as. To do that, just open up the folder, take the Adjust Texture layer, move it down to the other folder's Adjust Texture layer, move down the Adjust Ink Fade layer, stick it next to the other Adjust Ink Fade layer, and finally take the Paper Texture layer and move it down to the other Paper Texture layer. Once they're all sitting together, just double click on it and push merge down and merge the textures, the ink fades, and the papers so that there are only 3 layers. Next, I import my sketch. I've got that on the layer underneath the paper texture folder. I turn the opacity of my sketch down so that I can more clearly see my brush strokes while I'm inking. Above that, I'm going to create a new layer that I'll be inking in. I'll be inking this piece with the Ramen brush from Retro Supply's standard pen set. First, I check my brush size to make sure that feels comfortable for the size of canvas that I'm working on. Once I like the size that my brush is at, I just begin going through and inking. I like the way this brush tapers, and I like that it has a really gritty edge so it looks nice and natural on the page. Once I've finished inking, I create a new layer that I'm going to put the red background on. I stick that layer on Multiply so that it won't interfere with the lines that I just made. I click on my line layer and I set it to reference. This makes it so that my new layers are all aware of the line layer and use it so that I can easily make fills. Some areas of the line work weren't completely closed, so I go in and I touch those up just by erasing the red. Next, I'm going to create my yellow layer. Again, I stick that on Multiply. Because I have the line layer set to reference mode, This layer will also reference that line work, and I can drag and drop my color wherever the lines meet up. Any areas where the outline isn't solid, I will have to go in and color in manually. Next, I'll be using Retro Supply's DupliTone pack to add some black halftones. I'm going to start another layer, so if I want to change any of these halftones, I won't destroy the line work if I have to erase. I want to keep this a really simple 3-color design so it looks authentically vintage. So I'm just going to be using black, red, and yellow. So I'll be sticking those halftones in black. So far this is looking pretty good and authentic. Here's a glimpse of how it would look without the paper texture. Not quite as authentic, but still great looking line work and halftones. If you want to change the strength of any of the effects that are part of the paper texture, just open the folder that has paper texture and effects, go to Adjust Texture or Adjust Ink Fade, and change the opacity. If you want to get an even stronger effect out of any of these layers, just duplicate the layer, merge the layer down, and then change the opacity from there, and you should have double the strength of the effect. Next, I'm going to add a little bit more depth to this paper by using some of the extras that Retro Supply has provided with Phantom paper. If you go back to that download page and scroll down, you can see step 3, there's finishing effects. Just click download now. Once that's finished downloading, you're going to go to import file, go to the folder labeled RSCO Phantom Paper Finishing Effects, and go through and pick whichever effects you want to import. I've added some glue on one edge. Once I've imported that and stuck it where I want it to be, I set that layer to multiply so it blends with the page. Next, I'm going to add some discoloration. And again, when I have that where I want it to be, I set it to multiply so it also blends with the page. And that's all it takes. We've created an authentic looking vintage 3-color print using Retro Supply's Phantom paper, standard pens, and DupliTone.